All right, everybody. In the last lesson, I think we ended up with if you wanted to create motion, you had to be able to create leverage. So today, let's take a look at lever systems. Now, if you look at how, from the last lesson, how muscles create contraction, to generate leverage, you had to have two things. You had to have an origin, and you had to have an insertion. The origin is the tendinous attachment at one end of the muscle that doesn't move, and the insertion is the other. And then we talked about that the insertion always moves to the origin. So now we have to bring in a little bit of Mr. Ullmann physics and talk about lever systems themselves. And to have a lever system and to gain a mechanical advantage, you must have four things. So let's take a look at that first. You have to have a lever. And the lever is going to be some type of rod or bone, and it must be, or it should have, limited flex. It means it can't be bendy pretty much at all, but I can't say it's not going to flex because bones do flex a little bit, and if they didn't, they'd break all the time. You wouldn't even be able to go outside. Although most of you just stay in the basement and play video games and wait for your mom to bring you a grilled cheese anyway. Thank God your mom is a good person. Otherwise, you'd probably starve to death. Back to the lesson. So you need a lever. Second, you need a fulcrum. And that's going to be a fixed pivot point. And you guys have all talked, this is kind of elementary stuff for now. And we'll always represent that with a triangle with an F in it, right, like that. And then 3, resistance. Resistance in physics is the force, that looks terrible. The force needed to be overcome. So at some point, you have to apply enough force to overcome the resistance, or nothing happens, nothing moves. And remember, that's the whole point of this. How do muscles and bones work together to move you around? So this is the force needed to be overcome, and that will always be in a square with a capital R in it, like that. And then 4, effort. This is the force exerted to overcome the resistance. And we're always going to represent that with a capital E, like that. So if you look on this paper right here, you got the 4 basic parts to a lever system. You got the lever, the fulcrum, the resistance, and the effort. And we'll be talking about those in each of the examples. So let me throw that out. Ooh, how about we do this? Does anybody know how many lever systems there are? There are 3 systems. And we will do that now. Okay? Number 1. Sorry, I got to straighten out my papers. It'll be driving me crazy. Let's go, we'll just call it Roman number 1. A first-class lever. And all of these have mechanical advantages, just the design is a little bit different. So in a first-class lever, let's draw it out. You got to have a fulcrum. So that's going to represent a bone in our regular example. Now, on a first-class lever, the resistance will be at one end. The fulcrum is dead center, providing that pivot point or the point of motion. Okay? And then the effort is at the other end, moving in the opposite direction. So we're going to apply force to the lever on this side in a downward direction, and what will happen to the resistance? As long as we overcome it, the resistance will go up like that. That was a terrible arrow. And don't forget, you can flip these. So you can start like this, flip them this way. Start like that, flip them back. So that's a first-class lever. Can anybody tell me, what does that look like? Are you thinking about it? Because you shouldn't be just watching. You should be thinking and asking yourself questions the whole time. I see what it is. It's a seesaw. Or as I called it growing up, the old teeter-totter. It's a seesaw. Look, it goes up and down, up and down, up and down. You guys know when you have 2 people on here, you can actually work that seesaw. Now, how about a human example? Okay, so I'm going to do the head-neck. The head-neck example for human beings. Now, you guys know I do not draw very well, so I'm going to draw a little face here. We'll just do a little, there's his little eye, and a little nose, and there's his mouth, and there's his chin. We'll put a little eyeball on there. There you go. And we'll give him some spiky hair like that. And then he's got a real skinny neck like that. Okay? Now, how does that work like a seesaw? Well, the neck, your vertebrae, are actually going to be the fulcrum. And then your head can then pivot around that. So let's do this. Let's make your face the resistance. Okay? Your face is the resistance. And you can see I just flipped this over here. Don't get all freaked out. Your face is the resistance. Now, there are muscles attached to the back of your head. So, I'll just do a little muscle here like this, and I'll draw it up onto the back of your head. Well, there's the tendinous attachment right there. There's the muscle coming down, right? So muscles are actually responsible through contraction by applying the effort. So if this muscle contracts, okay, this is the insertion point. This is the origin down here. This muscle contracts, watch this. This muscle, the insertion is going to move towards the origin. That's the effort. So if the effort's going down, because it can only go to the origin, the face is going to rotate up around that pivot point. So you got to see saw. And there's muscles on the front of your neck that actually pull the other way. So this can be reversed. So you can pull it this way, and then you pull your head that way. This would be way funnier in class because I'd make you all do it. So you can go this way, and you go that way. Your head can teeter and totter with the neck as the fulcrum. First class levers. Okay? Not real common in the human body, but there's quite a few. Okay? All right, let's get that one out of here. Number 2. This would be the rarest. Sorry. This would be the rarest. This is called a second class lever. Okay, so let's go through the basic design of the lever. So we got the lever itself. Now in this case, the fulcrum will be out at one end on a second class lever like that. Okay? The resistance will be sitting right there. And then the effort will be applied to the lever in the same direction as the resistance. So if I apply force in an upward direction, which way is the resistance going to go? You got it. It's going to rotate around the fulcrum point, and it'll go up as well. Looking at that, can anybody tell me what that looks like? Anyone? 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 Anyone yet? I'm drawing it. Huh? What's that? That is a wheelbarrow. And it's not wheelbarrow, ding dongs. It's wheelbarrow. Wheelbarrow, not wheelbarrow. I don't know what a wheelbarrow is. That's a wheelbarrow. So you can see here's the fulcrum. Then the resistance is whatever you pile in there. And then your hands lift up, and that's a second class lever. Well, where the heck are you going to find that in the human body? I'm glad you asked that. Let's do foot, and I'm going to use the science name. Foot/gastrocnemius, which is your calf muscle. And just so you know, it's not the only one. It actually has a sister muscle called the soleus. We'll talk about that when we get to those muscles in the leg a long, long time from now. All right, so here's what I'm going to do. All right, I'm going to draw a foot. Let me come down here. Am I on the screen? Yep, I'm good. I'm going to come way down here. That's your foot. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 toes, just to make it funny. Okay, that's your foot. And that is your tibia. And I'm fully aware there's another bone there too, but tibia is the main bone. All right, so let's see what we got here. Does anybody know what is this area of your foot called right there? That's going to be the fulcrum point. That's the ball of your foot. Right where your foot bones and your toe bones articulate, and you have that little bit of flexed toes. Your toes obviously wouldn't be this long, but your toes can flex and your foot can flex. That's going to be the fulcrum. Now I'm going to put the resistance right here. And I know what you're thinking. Scarp, there's nothing on my foot. Well, technically, if you're standing upright and you want to walk without falling down, can you walk straight up and down? The answer to that is no. You have to lean forward a little bit. So the center of gravity for you is going to be somewhere close to the middle of your foot. So that represents your TBW, total body weight, as you lean forward to maintain balance. Now you have weight over the foot, okay? Now I'm going to put a big calf muscle. That's your gastrocnemius. And then it tapers. It's terrible drawing. It tapers down to the tendon. Anybody know what that tendon's called? That's the Achilles tendon, and then it attached to the largest bone of the heel. Does anybody remember that one? Calcaneus. Yeah, that bone stuff's going to be really important now. Okay? So there's the resistance. There's the fulcrum, the pivot point. Now watch. When this muscle shortens, the origin is here. The insertion is here. So when this muscle contracts, if this end stays still, the whole muscle's going this way. The contraction or the power or the effort will be applied in an upward direction, and this will go up as well. So if I pull up on the bottom of my heel, I can't demonstrate this because I can't stand on the table right in front of this camera. But if I pull up on the heel, you're going to go up on your tippy toes. So look, it's just like I'm in the same picture. It's just like this. So that's the ball of your foot. That's your body weight. That's the calf muscle pulling up on the foot. Second class lever. So you can go up on your tippy toes and do your toe raises. And this is a very important lever system because when you're walking or running, this is one of the power muscles that push off so that you can escape the acceleration of gravity and go faster. All right, last one. Here we go. Number 3. It is the most... Oh, don't do that. That was terrible. Don't do that. This is a third class lever. And it is the most common, no doubt. And it's the most common because it's, I don't want to use the word flexible. It's versatile. That's a good word. It's versatile. Versatile. Oh, you know how it's spelled. I'm terrible at this. I'm a little nervous being on stage without an audience. Okay. Now, what's a third class lever look like? All right, let's do this. Okay. Now, in a third class lever, the fulcrum, again, will be at one end. So I'm going to put it right here. You're like, hey, Scurbs, you're drawing a second class lever. Now I'm going to move things around. The resistance is going to be out on the end of the lever. And then the effort will be somewhere between moving in the same direction as the resistance. So if you look, second class lever, those are flipped. So a third class lever, fulcrum at one end, resistance sitting on the lever at the other, and then the effort is applied to the lever somewhere in between there. Now, let's take a look at a human example. And I'm going to do, let me do your arm as the example. Okay, so watch. I'm going to do a little hand here. That's your radius right there. That's the radius. I'm going to put your hand out there. Six-fingered man from The Princess Bride. If you haven't watched the movie, you're off. You should. And then right here, I have the humerus. I'm going to turn that and write humerus on there. Are you laughing right now? Are you laughing? Because that's humerus. And it's humerus. All right, terrible joke. All right, now, we have to make it match, and I have it drawn the same way. So your hand, let's assume, I mean, it could basically be your hand, but I'm going to put, there's some object in your hand, and you need to move it, okay? I don't know, maybe it's a bowling ball. It could be anything. Your elbow then becomes the fulcrum. And I don't know if you've noticed, but all of your joints, those are fulcrum. Those are places where you can pivot or move, and then we're going to use those as part of a lever system so that your muscles can move you around. So I have the fulcrum, the radius. Look, fulcrum, radius. Perfect. Now I have to apply the effort somewhere in between, where there's a large, pretty large muscle, maybe not on some of you. Oh, it actually has two heads of origin right there. And then it comes down and it inserts right there. There's a little bump. Here's my elbow right there. There's a little bump on the radius right here that sticks out pretty close to the elbows. Anybody remember what it's called? The radial tuberosity. And this muscle right here, this is the biceps. This is the biceps muscle. So when the origin is up here, that's the origin. Here's the insertion. Which way does it move? Let me guess. That way. When this muscle contracts, it's going to pull on the radius, and the radius is going that way. So the effort is going up, and then the resistance will go up. This allows you to bend your elbow. So when this muscle contracts, it rotates the radius around the fulcrum. Now, to wrap this lesson up, let's talk about versatility in a third class lever. Okay? So let me redraw my lever down here, and I'm going to show you. Oh, was that bad? Just pretend that's straight. Just pretend. All right, now here's the nice thing about a third class lever in terms of biomechanical design and evolution. The effort point, or the point of the tendon of the muscle that attaches, watch, you can put it anywhere in here. So I'm going to do this as my range. When we were being designed by the planet, not that the planet has a brain, but you can slide the effort. I can put that point of attachment close to the fulcrum, or I can go further away. So let's take a look. All right, sorry for the splice there, everybody. I had a little delay because my stupid 5S ran out of memory, and I did not get to finish the lesson. So we were talking about the third class lever and how versatile it is, because nature can slide the effort position or the attachment of the muscle either closer to the fulcrum or further away. And there's advantages and disadvantages to both. So if we take our example and put the effort attachment or the tendon closer, what's the advantage? Range of motion. And you guys already know, and I've talked about it a million times, what's the importance of our upper appendage? It's not for locomotion anymore, so what are our arms for? It's for manipulating objects in our environment, so we have to have incredible range of motion. What's the disadvantage? You get a decrease in power. Now, I'm not saying that humans can't be strong. I'm not saying you can't increase muscle mass. But the design itself, based on functional physics or mechanics, there's less power when the effort is closer to the fulcrum than when it's further away. So let's put it further away. Okay, what's the advantage? Oh, this should not be tough. The advantage is power. And when you look at this, when you look in your hips and your knees, the muscular attachments are further away from the fulcrum, which is why your legs are just basically, pound for pound, stronger than your arms, and we walk upright, so that makes sense. So what's the disadvantage? It's range of motion. I'm just going to call that range of motion because we already have it over there. So you have a disadvantage in terms of range of motion. If you want stability and power, you got to sacrifice that. So you can see the third class lever is not only the most common, it's the most versatile, and that's why it is the most common. And that wraps up our lesson on lever systems. So we'll keep taking a look at this as we go through muscles, starting in the next lesson. No more lessons until after Easter break by rule. So if you guys have any questions, as always, shoot me a private message and I'll help you out. Take care.